This is Peter Tallman. This is the public service meeting on April 13th, 6 p.m. To my left is Councilor Ward 2 Will PUELLO. David Bartley will be joining us shortly, the Ward 3 City Councilor. And welcome. This is being taped and is also on Zoom and on Channel 15. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Holyoke. Taking a motion to take item number 1 off the table.
Motion to take up item 1.
Okay. Item 1 for Mayor Joshua A. Garcia, a letter appointing Mr. Jorge Colon, 101 St. Kolbe Drive, as member of the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority. Mr. Colon will serve a 2-year term. Said term will expire on November 1st, 2024. And Mr. Colon is here in chambers. Would you like to come in and join us, sir?
It's good to see you.
Just take a seat there. There's a button there. It says push it, it'll turn green so we can hear you. You got it?
Yes.
You're on. Can you press it? It's green?
Yes.
Okay. If you can speak into the mic.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Normally what we do, Mr. Colon, we have people in for service to the city, volunteer for the city, to just give us a little background about yourself and the city and what you do and why you're interested in this position for the city of Holyoke.
More than welcome.
Okay.
Like he said already, I reside at 101 St. Kolbe Drive. My name is Jorge Luis Colon Robles. I'm 54 years old. I've been married for 34 years. I got 2 daughters, one of 30, one of 18, about to graduate. I went to study civil engineer. I graduated from it, but some way, somehow, I found the culinary art department in my way, and I acquired an international culinary attendant, the one I've been practicing for the last 22 years.
Okay, you're attendant, culinary, you said?
Yes, I'm actually what you guys call on the street a chef. Yes.
Okay, that's super. I just want to state also here on Zoom is Councilor Juan Anderson Burgos and Councilor Joe McGivern and Mike Bissonette, one of the attorneys with the City of Holyoke. So you decided to volunteer your services, and there's a reason why the Redevelopment Authority?
Yes, I've been involved in I'm a Mason. I belong to 2 different lodges, the one in South Hadley and the one in Holyoke. I belong to a couple of bodies, and I have cooked for every single fundraiser, being part of volunteering here and everywhere, and I'm always available to help. As long as it's for the benefit of the people of Holyoke, I'm there.
Okay. And this is an important position. I know with the Redevelopment Authority, the city's looking at properties that need to be developed throughout the city, and especially in certain wards where we're trying to build up the community and take some of these buildings and try to put them back on the tax rolls, which is one of the jobs I think of the authority. Are you familiar with the meeting times and would be able to make the meetings?
They already communicated me. It's the Wednesdays at 6 o'clock. Third Wednesday.
Okay. And you have no problems in making that meeting with your position, the job?
No.
Okay.
No.
Appreciate that. Any questions from council? Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for Jorge, Mr. Colon, for being here. I've known him for a while, and he's not kidding when he says anything that's for the benefit of the community, he's down for. I remember I attended an HRA meeting just I think 2 weeks ago, and then after it ended, I went to a housing meeting, and I saw Mr. Colon again. So he's out and about, and I know he's done his homework, and he's really excited, and we really appreciate everything you do for the city. I'm looking forward to working further with you on the HRA.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions from anybody on Zoom? Any of my colleagues, any counselors for Mr. Colon? No questions there? Yep. Councilor Juan Anderson Burgos.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I will say I do know him personally, and he is a very dedicated man. Very honored to be friends with him, and I'm happy he stepped up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Juan.
Thank you. Like make a motion for the committee?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to recommend full city council.
Okay, recommendation is made and seconded by me for appointing Mr. Colon to the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority. We'll bring this up to the full council meeting next Tuesday, and then you can come down and take your oath with the city clerk after that.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for your time and appreciate your
More than
service to the
welcome,
community. Yeah.
It's good to see you.
Thank you, thank you.
Have a good night. Make a motion to take item number 2.
Yeah, so moved. Oh, are we taking this off the?
We'll take it up, yeah.
Okay. Motion to take up item 2, but are we going to table it?
Okay, yeah. Item 2 is from Mayor Joshua Garcia appointing Tiffany Curtis, 285 Hampden Street, to serve as a member of the Library Board of Directors for the City of Holyoke. Dr. Curtis replaced Mr. Jason Lefebvre and will serve the remainder of his term. Said term will expire on February 23rd, February 2023. Dr. Davis couldn't make it tonight. She has another commitment, so we're going to take a motion to
Yeah,
table.
motion to table item 2.
I'll second that. Item 2 will be tabled to the next public service meeting. And motion
Motion
to,
to take up item 3.
okay, so moved. Item 3 is from Mayor Joshua A. Garcia, letter appointing Miss Lyn Horan, 100 Southampton Rd, to serve as a member of the Commission of Disabilities for the City of Holyoke. Ms. Horan will serve a 3-year term. Said term will expire on March 2025. Good evening, Lyn. We got you here on Zoom. Would you like to give a brief statement?
Sure. First, I want to thank you all for taking the time in busy schedules to put my appointment on the agenda, and I hope that you will support me. First, on my background and interest, it is firsthand. I was diagnosed at age 27. I'm now 64. So 36 years of disabling disease, starting with multiple sclerosis, progressive form, rheumatoid arthritis. I also have a primary immune deficiency disease called CVID. And I'm currently have been in a wheelchair for, I think, amazingly 6 years. So I definitely understand from a firsthand basis the issues and obstacles, literally and metaphorically, that people like myself face. And I'm very interested in a general sense of continuing to make, and increasingly making even more so, our community in Holyoke much more friendly to the disabled community. I would also say it's probably on the bottom of the list of marginalized people in many ways, and we come in all races, ages, sizes, shapes, and varying degree of disability. The current quote from the CDC, I believe, is 68 million disabled community members in our country. So we actually represent one of the largest groups facing these difficulties. And I particularly want to go in with a constructive approach to help educate. Like in all of these communities, a lot of the problem is those folks outside of that group, the able-bodied, don't necessarily know what sorts of things we face on a day-to-day basis. The age, for instance, is one thing. While I think up to half of the disabled Americans are seniors, and I don't mean high school seniors, but the rest of us are actually at a working age. There's also been an increase in this country in autoimmune diseases like lupus, MS, rheumatoid arthritis. I think there's something like 84 autoimmune diseases where the body's immune system turns on itself. The typical age of diagnosis for that is late 20s, early 30s, the height of when we are tasked with not only raising our families, but providing an income. So no, we don't just stay at home, and many of us can't afford to. In addition, our health and our present healthcare system, our healthcare coverage is connected to our employment. So all of these come out in various forms in our community, and I hope to join in the already present hardworking members of the commission to open the eyes of our community, possibly a little bit more in very constructive ways. Some of the specifics I'd like to work on, for instance, is to make sure our local wonderful parks, of which we have many in Holyoke, are accessible to people like me. And actually, that's kind of a win-win because many of the federal and state grants are associated with reimbursement by meeting the qualifications of ADA. So again, knowledge is key, and it can be a great thing. One of the things we find out when you uphold one marginalized part of the community, you often help the others. And in that case, we help when it's physically accessible, buildings, parks, etc. We help people that cannot afford private transportation. We help people with children and strollers, in addition to seniors as well. So I'm looking forward to participating in a more meaningful way, if you guys will support me.
Thank you, Lyn.
One other thing, just background, I have worked in East Hampton for 3 or 4 years with seniors. I was the activities director there. I'm a teacher, and I specifically like working with seniors as well, because even at a young age, I shared some of the same obstacles as they did. And so I have come to have a tremendous respect for our senior community, and now apparently I am part of that age group.
Thank you, Lyn. I can relate to that. I am also 64, so we're right in that area. Getting ready for Medicare this year. I appreciate your time, and I know you're very vocal, and you've been very vocal in the city and community, and in the last since I've been around the city council, and really appreciate you willing to step up. And I'm sure you can really attest firsthand and the difficulties it is to get around in certain areas of the city, and you'd be willing to really show that there are some obstacles still within our community and elsewhere. So, any questions from any of my colleagues on the council? Councilor Bartley.
Just a comment. I think to have what the applicant said was to have park accessibility improved, to get from the perspective of a person who has certain challenges. I think that's vitally important, and certainly the applicant's a well-spoken person who's got a lot of experience. So I think this is going to be a win for the city, and I agree that if we can make the community more friendly. I'm not saying we're not friendly, and I don't think the applicant is, but I think we can improve it for user-friendly for everyone. I think that makes a lot of sense. So I'm ready to make a recommendation if unless another councilor wants to speak.
I'll second that.
Okay, I'll make a motion to recommend the applicant to the full city council.
Okay. Anybody on Zoom? Any councilors that might make a statement or ask a question to Lyn Horan? Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make a quick statement and say, Lyn, thank you for coming forward. This commission is very important to a lot of things that go on in the city of Holyoke. We work with it on a number of traffic things and stuff, but your knowledge and your experience far goes beyond some of the people we've seen that have joined this committee, and I think you'll be a tremendous asset to them. And thank you again for coming forward, and good luck to you.
Anybody else on Zoom? Okay, the recommendation is for the appointment to be made from the mayor to this commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Lyn, congratulations. We'll bring this to the full council next Tuesday evening, and I have see no problem with this getting approved. And thanks for stepping up and volunteering your time to help on this very important commission.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for your time, and I hope that you finish up early enough tonight that you can enjoy this beautiful spring evening.
It is a beautiful evening.
From more than afar.
I think we will. We're going to move this right along.
Along those lines, I'll make a motion to take 4 off the table.
Okay.
All right, second.
Item number 4. This is an item sponsored by Councilor Jenny Rivera and Councilor PUELLO Ordered. that the city council review and approve the Puerto Rican Cultural District Resolution. We have anybody here online for this? We have paperwork here, Councilor Puello.
Let's see, is there anything on submitted? I mean, I can talk about it. I don't,
We have
Here it is.
We have the resolution behind on the page, so, yeah, you want me to read it, or do you,
Well,
a discussion on it?
yeah, let's hear from Councilor Puello, and then we
Okay,
can-
okay,
you probably want to read it, Pete.
yeah.
Wanna
Councilor?
read it? Okay, yeah, so this is something that came to me and Councilor Rivera from op-ed and Cynthia Espinoza. She's now working over at Nueva. And, you know, I think this is a good thing. It's going to complement Main Street, that corridor down there. Where I just filed an order. Councilor Vacan co-sponsored it, where we're gonna see if we can get some the fire alarm electrical boxes repainted. There's a project in the works to get some other things painted as far as murals and other walls from other owners that are willing to donate that. So it's going to be good, and this also makes the city eligible for more grants, is what it was explained to me from Ms. Espinoza. So we're going to have to make sure we track that. I know she's going to meet with me and Councilor Rivera regularly, so we can talk about how that money's being spent, where it's being used. But you know, more money is a good thing, especially for that little tiny area down there.
Absolutely. And this was also worked on Aaron Vega is Director of op-ed. He is here online. Aaron, you have a comment on this item?
No, thank you, councilors, and thank you for the work you've done previously doing the local designation for this area. This is what's needed to do to get the statewide designation, and as the councilor pointed out, there is grants and other funds available for cultural events, placemaking, etc. So this is just part of that process. So we hope that you'll support it and just build upon the work that you've already done for that district.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think this will be good, just like Mr. Vega said. And in the future, I think the conversation wants to have other districts, you know, like an Irish district, the Polish district. So if we can have more cultural districts and bring in more community members to be a part of those things, I mean, this is great. So this isn't the end of this. It's going to keep building.
Okay, and on that note, I'm going to briefly read the resolution here in public. The resolution is City of Holyoke, a resolution by the City of Holyoke to create a state-authorized cultural district for at least 5 years to be named the Puerto Rican Cultural District. Whereas the City of Holyoke wishes to pursue a state-authorized cultural district through the enabling legislation MGL 1, Part 1, Title 2, Chapter 10, Section 58A. Whereas the City of Holyoke has a mixed-use geographical area that has a concentration of cultural facilities and assets. Whereas the City of Holyoke has held a public hearing proclaiming its interest in establishing a state-designated cultural district. Whereas the City of Holyoke has created a broad and diverse partnership of stakeholders committed to cultural, community, and economic development to provide oversight of the district. Whereas the Massachusetts Cultural Council will be petitioned in accordance with its guidelines and criteria to designate such cultural district. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council that the City of Holyoke, Article 1, endorses the submission of this application and agrees to foster the development of a cultural district. Article 2, endorses the state-sponsored cultural district goals, attracting artists and cultural enterprises, encouraging business and job development, establishing tourist destinations, preserving and reusing historic buildings, enhancing property values, and fostering local cultural development. Article 3 will appoint a city official to represent the city within the district partnership of said cultural district. Article 4 encourages all who own property or businesses within said cultural district to involve themselves and participate in the full development of the cultural district. And Article 5 directs city agencies to identify programs and services that could support and enhance the development of the cultural district and ensure that those programs and services are accessible to the cultural district. Any comments from anybody on the council now? Councilor Bartley.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Just to the chair to Mr. Vega, Aaron, I just want to have you help me out with three things on this because this is something we want to get behind. When it says for at least 5 years, what does that mean? Okay, do we need to have that? I mean, why do we have to have a limit on this? Why don't we just say a state authorized cultural district to be named the Puerto Rican? Why do we have to have a time limit on it?
That's a good question. I don't, that's a great question. I don't think that we should. I agree with you. I think they're just asking that the city is willing to do this, to name this for at least 5 years. I can check in with Cynthia Espinosa, before this goes to the full council, if you move it today, to get a clear answer on that.
Yeah, so
make
at
a
some
note.
point, I'll make an amendment on that.
Yeah.
The second one, Aaron, thanks for that answer. I appreciate that, because that's actually very helpful. The City of Holyoke has held a public hearing. Did we hold a public hearing? Because this ain't it.
I don't remember I don't remember the hearing. Was there a public hearing on this?
We can say we held a hearing.
We held a public hearing.
Okay, if you say we did,
I was told it was old.
When Cynthia was
Like
with
an
us still
old
in the
meeting.
office, we held a public hearing.
okay, good enough. We'll check that box. And then way down in Article 3, it says, "Will appoint a city official to represent the city." So who's going to appoint and who's going to be the official?
So our thought was, but we're open to discussion with that. Our thought was that this would fall under the senior project manager position in my office, who already works with the mass motion coordinator. If we get that grant, is sort of the lead, our representative on the bike ped committee, our representative on the food economy. So it kind of falls in line with that. So it could easily be our senior project manager from my office.
So can we say, I mean, I don't want to mess this up, but can we say to be appointed by the mayor?
Yep.
Okay, is it okay to say that? You don't need city council approval. I don't even want to go there, because that's silly. But as long as we have
Appreciate
a,
that.
Point, yeah.
well, we can be relaxed down here despite nonsensical comments to the contrary. But that's all right. Everybody's got their own opinion. As I found out last night, I had we got our own opinion. Okay, great, good for you. So that's. So thank you, Aaron. So if once we're done speaking, Peter, I'm going to make a couple amendments to this, if we may.
Yeah, that's no problem. I see. I'm glad you brought those up, because the public hearing was a concern to me in the 5 years also. And any other comments from anybody on Zoom on this item? We'd like to, really like to move this along, especially we have another item
right,
with
so-
that Councilor Puello has in our jacket that we're going to take up next month about the painting in that area of some of the fireboxes. So, Councilor Bartley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make just a couple amendments so we can suspend the rules and take them as a package.
Okay.
The first amendment is that we, in the first sentence, a resolution by the city to create a state-authorized cultural district, and remove for at least 5 years.
Okay.
So it was a sentence a resolution by the city to create a state-authorized cultural district to be named the Puerto Rican Cultural District.
Okay, remove that. Okay.
That's Amendment 1. Second amendment is in Article 3, the mayor of the City of Holyoke will appoint a city official to represent. So the mayor, the Holyoke mayor, however you want to say it, the Holyoke mayor will appoint a city official to represent the city within the district. So those are my
Second.
two amendments.
I'll second those amendments.
Under discussion.
Is discussion?
Yeah, under discussion. I'm glad that so Aaron's on point with the public hearing. As long as what we're saying is true, that checks the box on it for me. And then there's no real reason to have a time limit on this.
No.
And then just to specify that the mayor can appoint. I think we all know that, but it's just nice to have the language.
Add the
in there.
language in, absolutely.
And then we'll go from there. And then I'm sure the mayors will. All he has to do is send us a communication. It doesn't have to be subject to city council stuff. That's just beyond the pale. So
Okay.
that's why that's the purpose for the amendment.
Okay, now will we need to fix this, or we just bring that forward like that in the meeting? We'll have another sheet on this
I would say we can amend it in committee.
and
for
then
sure.
bring it up in the,
And then
full council.
Jeffrey can take that language and present it to the full city council.
and change, okay, and change.
If we approve it tonight.
Right, okay. Just want to make sure that we have it in right form for the resolution, the proper form for the meeting for next Tuesday.
Yeah,
Jeffrey,
I mean, Jeffrey's here now.
Okay, yeah, he
so
can do- yeah,
He's usually
yeah.
pretty efficient. So.
Okay. And that'll be brought forth to the, so, any other comments or questions on this Puerto Rican Cultural District? With those amendments, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 3-0, the Puerto
I'll
Rican
make a
Cultural
motion that
Resolution is
we
compliant.
recommend this resolution as amended to the full city council.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Oh. We will bring this forward next Tuesday night with the amendments, and Jeffrey, if you can take care of those 2 amendments to bring them to the full council next week. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
got it.
Okay, thank you.
Pick up
Thanks,
item
Jeff.
5.
I'll make a motion to take number 5 off the table.
Okay. Number 5, all in favor? Aye, okay. This is order from Councilor McGee, order that the mayor and city council review and approve the relocation of a department of departments to the unused space of the tax collector personnel office. These spaces are forward-facing offices, spaces that allow better constituent access service. Note, one consideration would be to move the planning department into these spaces, which would allow constituents, businesses, easier access to the process. Okay, any comment? I believe this was, I was just here today and I looked into the office and I believe the mayor is having his advisory group meetings in that room where the tax collector personnel office is. So,
Is Aaron still here?
yeah, Aaron's still here. Aaron, any comments on that, this order from Councilor McGee?
All I can say is that I know that I think there's actually some city councilors involved too with looking at space between the annex and the city hall. And so we're working on that. And that space has been utilized a few times as a conference room. There's question whether that would be a better conference room space than the one in annex, you know, for planning board meetings and public meetings like that. Obviously, I don't think it's enough space for the planning. You know, our office is pretty big, and now with the planning and the redevelopments, I don't think we want to split our office, and I don't think there'd be enough space in that space for us. But I do know that there's discussions being had about office space and utilizing unused spaces in the annex and city hall. So, other than that, I don't know. I've just preliminarily been involved in that group. Went to one meeting, but again, I think there's 1 or 2 city councilors that are involved in that as well. But I think that a comprehensive discussion should be had, which I think is happening, about underutilized spaces. I actually was walking through the annex today. There's a handful of offices on the ground floor that aren't being utilized. So I think that there is some discussions being had about better utilization of space.
Okay, Councilor Barley?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to make a precipitous move to undermine a department head, so that's one. So it's good to have the department head who was specifically named in this order present, so that's helpful. I would say that it would be, you know, we have great space right here in the former tax collection. We also have space in the voter registration. I don't think that's being used. I'll stand corrected. We also have space downstairs in the weights and measures, the former space utilized by the coffee shop that was not approved by the city council. But I just want to make a point, and I know Aaron knows this as a veteran counselor, that it's this body that has to approve any lease, license, or any kind of conveyance, anything to do with any public property whatsoever. It has to go through this body. I know that's terribly painful process to hear for certain new counselors, but I mean, it's a way not for us to stymie it. It's a way for us to learn about it and to work with them. That's the part I'm trying to get across. We're not here as a roadblock. We're here to work hand in glove in a cooperative fashion with other entities and other agencies of the municipality. So I would just ask through the chair to Aaron to if you would present that to your sisters and brothers in city government, and to say, I mean, we probably have to table this now, but it'd be nice to hear back from them that, you know, they could walk through the space and walk through the various spaces, and they could actually, instead of being in the annex, or maybe somebody wants to come up from Canal Street or wherever. Maybe somebody wants to come from Suffolk Street. I don't know, but there might be room right here in City Hall to make the government more accessible to the city residents, and I hope I'm sure that's Mr. McGee's intent on this. So Aaron, if you would consider that, and maybe maybe somebody could circle back in a month or two with the communication of Peter, and then maybe we could put it on an agenda. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. And Aaron,
One last quick comment. I would just say that I know that this is definitely being discussed because, as you know, there was ARPA funds approved for improvements to the annex building, and so I think those are on hold till some stuff is figured out. So, we want to see improvements done to that building. We love that building, but I think that the space issue is tied to some of that. So, again, I think that this is I think that having this order presented and maybe a larger discussion with the group that the mayor has at looking at these spaces. I know that I think that Bob Parent's involved, Alicia's involved, Alicia Zoller from Office of Community Development, and so I think it'd be good to have this discussion because I think there is some good consolidation and better uses of space that could be had.
Counselor Barley?
Yeah, just through the chair to Aaron. Aaron, just along the lines of ARPA funds. I know we're getting just a touch off topic, but I think there are ARPA funds available for this room 11, as well, and I hope there would be potentially ARPA funds available for maybe these other ancillary offices that we were just discussing, even upstairs. It's such a beautiful. All of us who work here. My case of the air quotes work here, but it would still be. It's a beautiful building, and it makes me very proud to walk into this on a regular basis. And I know I speak for all of us on this panel. It's just an honor to walk in this building every time we get to walk in it and know that we get to do what we do. So I would hope that others would feel the same, and they would, and I think they would. And I think if we could have, I don't know, maybe it's too public a space for the law department, but I don't know, maybe the city engineers. I don't know, it'd be nice to hear from them and to see how the space could work for their needs. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to mention that also that Councilor McGee couldn't be here. Actually has a neighborhood meeting tonight, so we brought this up. He wasn't aware that we're doing this, but I think we're going to end up tabling this anyways to try to get a little bit of feedback from the council. Like I said, I was here today and saw that building, the room that we're talking about, and I guess that's where the mayor's having a lot of the advisory group meetings, and it is a big space. So it's and there's other parts of this building actually that has rooms to sort of look at, and I'm sure that you're working on that as far as your office and other offices in the annex, and I think that's important that we try to find out within the time frame. So when we get the ARPA funds approved, that we can do the work we have to do. We'd hate to see any space unused, and we are trying to make this a friendlier building. So, Councilor PUELLO, any comments? No?
I'll make a motion that we table this for the time being so we get some feedback.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Motion to table number 5.
Motion to take up number 6, please.
Second.
Okay. Item 6, Councilor Anderson Burgos, order that the City Council pass a resolution to support the Green Act. This was tabled on 3/9, waiting for some information from them, the Senate and the House bill, I believe, that Councilor Jornade asked for. So I'll go to the maker of the order, Councilor Anderson Burgos. We
Thank
do
you.
have the
I
resolution
actually
here
have-
too, yeah.
Yeah, so you should all have that in front of you. I also have from Environmental Massachusetts, Ben Hellerstein. I hope I pronounced that
Oh,
correctly.
yeah. Oh, Ben Hellerstein, yes, okay.
Yes, who I invited into the meeting, if you will have him, please, to speak a little bit more on the benefits that we're trying to push here on the resolution and all.
I'll make a motion to suspend to allow Mr. Hellerstein to present on this
Second.
issue.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Ben Hellerstein, you're on.
Name and address.
Name and address, please.
Ben Hellerstein, 163 Coolidge Street, Brookline, Massachusetts. And thank you so much all for the opportunity to join you today. I was actually just joining from another local government meeting that I was involved in Brookline, so it's been an evening full of local government presentations for me. So as the counselor said, I'm the state director for Environment Massachusetts. We're a statewide citizen-supported environmental advocacy organization And we work to protect clean air, clean water, and open space together with our thousands of citizen members and supporters across Massachusetts. And we had been in touch with Councilor Anderson Burgos, I think more than a year ago, to discuss the Green Act and how we can help to build support for this legislation in Holyoke. And really grateful to the councilor for bringing forward this resolution, and would love to share a little bit of background on sort of what this legislation is and why we think it's so important. So this bill is really all about retrofitting our buildings, and particularly housing in gateway cities, to be energy efficient and fossil fuel free and powered with renewable electricity. And just to give a little bit of background on why this is so important. So in Massachusetts, many of our buildings are quite old, right? Built more than a century ago, and certainly that's very true in Massachusetts gateway cities. Communities that in many cases were largely built up during the 19th century, if not even before that. These buildings often use energy inefficiently due to a lack of insulation, old appliances, and outdated lighting fixtures. Most homes burn oil or gas for heating, and residents may lack the opportunity to switch to cleaner alternatives, and that's particularly true for folks that are low to moderate income. And we know that these inefficient buildings that are heated with fossil fuels are harmful for a number of reasons. Burning oil and gas releases air pollution that's linked to asthma, heart attack, and other health problems. There's a growing body of research that actually shows that the fossil fuels that we use in our homes, particularly for cooking our food, can be a major source of indoor air pollution that can cause and exacerbate conditions like asthma. We also know that using these fossil fuels is bad for our climate. The energy we use in our buildings is responsible for about 40% of our greenhouse gas emissions in Massachusetts. Residents face high utility bills. Many folks find it too expensive to heat their homes to a comfortable temperature during the winter months. And we've also seen how our reliance on fossil fuels can lead to tragedy, as experienced in the 2018 gas explosions in Lawrence, Andover, and North Andover. So for a number of reasons, we want to get our buildings off of fossil fuels. There are programs that exist at the state level that are offered by utility companies to encourage energy efficiency. In many ways, those programs fall short. And I would add also that for a community like Holyoke that's served by a municipal utility, not all of those state level programs or utility programs are available. So this bill is all about trying to solve those problems, and in particular to direct more resources to the gateway cities as a place where there are a lot of these older homes that are in need of retrofits, and also many residents who may not necessarily be able to afford the cost out of pocket. And we believe that with the right support, the right incentives, houses and apartments in the gateway cities can be retrofitted to be efficient, fossil fuel free, and powered with renewable electricity, and that the result will be cleaner and healthier and safer communities for everybody. So this bill would establish a new program called the Green Initiative, and that's an acronym standing for Gateway Cities, Renewable, Efficient, and Electrified Neighborhoods. And it would focus, again, on retrofitting low to moderate income housing in the gateway cities, as well as smaller communities with similar demographics. Phase one of the program would fund at least one project in each of the gateway cities. And each project itself would retrofit at least 10 housing units. And then that would be essentially like a pilot phase of the program to sort of get it off the ground and kind of iron out any kinks that might arise in the process. And then after year two, then phase two would be launched, which would be much broader, and that would really be envisioning kind of a community-wide effort and transformation, really, to kind of get put in the resources necessary to really look at, like, how do we get all of the homes, or at least most of the homes in places like Holyoke retrofitted, fully efficient and fossil fuel free. So this is a bill that we've been working for the last few years to advance. We have it filed in the House with Representative Natalie Higgins, who represents Leominster, and Representative Michael Kuchmarek, who represents Fitchburg. In the Senate, the lead sponsor is Brendan Crichton, who's from Lyn. And a really exciting piece of news is that in the package of legislation that the legislature passed back in December to spend some of the ARPA COVID relief funds, they allocated $6.5 million to get this program off the ground. that is it's a significant investment. In some ways, it's not a lot of money. So, it will kind of help to get things started and do a few projects in a few different places. So that I think is really encouraging and shows that we have some support and momentum behind us. But there's still definitely the need to pass this overall bill, this kind of more all-encompassing bill to sort of get at the broader kind of community level effort that's really needed. So yeah, and just to conclude, I think having cities like Holyoke speaking up and adding their voice in support of this bill will really help to move it forward. And I think really what it's going to take is having local officials and other community leaders in the gateway cities going to their state legislators and saying, this is really a priority. We want you to push this bill forward. And I think if we can get enough of the gateway cities representatives and senators to prioritize this bill, that's really what it's going to take to get it passed. So I'll stop there, and if there's time, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that explanation. I think some of us were just looking through the bill here in the Senate bill and the House bill, trying to review things. Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I'll jump. So Mr. Hellestein, it's an honor to finally see you. I think I've been getting your emails for 10 years, so it's nice to finally meet you on the computer. Really is. I'm grateful for. And then there's all laudable goals in here. You can't deny it. I would point out humbly that I don't see the local delegation on here as co-sponsors. I would just simply point that out. I would also want to get, if I may, Mr. This is again all through the chair.
Yes, sir.
I would also want to get the position of the management and the commissioners of the Holyoke Gas and Electric. I would want to get their position in writing on this. So I don't see it here. As you know, Mr. Hellerstein, the Holyoke has a municipal utility. It is probably the envy of the Commonwealth, and it's one of the greenest utilities in the world, but they do use fossil fuels too. We know that. So we have to admit that. But they're a lot of the power is hydro powered. So we're very, very proud of that, and that's kudos to past councilors and past mayors and all that. They did a lot of hard work, and they don't get nearly enough credit for all the work that they did at that time, and they should be commended for that. I would also point out in here that the Department of Public Utilities shall increase the charges assessed to electric and gas utility customers. I mean, there's the irony right there, right? So we've got to nail gas and electric utility customers to finance this project. So I would want to know what impact, if any, that would have on Holyoke ratepayers, for sure, and other municipal utilities secondarily. So I don't know how many municipal utilities are in the Commonwealth, but I'm going to say somewhere around between 40 and 50, and I don't think I'm up. I'd defer to Councilor McGivern on that one for a specific, but certainly around here, Westfield, Chicopee, South Hadley, Russell come directly to mind, but we're virtually certain that there are multiple others. So those are just a few of my comments and observations, Mr. Chair, that I would want to see addressed prior to me taking a final vote on this. Thank you.
Any other comments, Councilor Puello?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Councilor Bartley, I got to start going first, I think, because Councilor Bartley took half my comments. I think the other one I underlined here was that the electric gas distribution companies and municipal aggregators with certified clean energy plants will transfer some money to the Department of Energy Resources. So I'm interpreting that as the HG&E is going to have to pay the green.
So the just to address that particular question, the bill as written envisions that the program would be funded through a charge assessed, sort of small increase to the charge assessed to electric and gas ratepayers of the investor-owned utility companies. So there is nothing in this legislation that would specifically impose any sort of charge on municipal utility customers. I would say that's a detail that, as we were working with the legislators to draft and file this bill, we did not address. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if as things move through the legislative process that issue is raised and there may be some questions around that. But at least as originally written, it would be the non-municipal utility customers that would pay for the program.
Thanks. Yeah, I do agree with Councilor Bartley on all of this. I'd really like to hear from the HGA as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments on Zoom? Any questions?
Yeah.
Counselor Juan
Yeah,
Burgos?
Mr. Chair. Yeah, Mr. Chair. So I'm trying to get a feel of where the committee stands. So if bringing HG&E to the table to ask several questions and then re-inviting Ben so that we can all have a educational discussion on what we're trying to move forward with, I can't say entertain because that's not my position, right? I don't sit in that committee, but my idea of maybe tabling would be my proposal, if you're good with that. Tabling and then inviting. But it's, completely up to the committee.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think us just seeing the House and the Senate bill tonight and just reading this, and I'd also like to hear from the G&E. I think that'd be important to try to bring in the GME, the manager, and maybe the commissioners to a meeting with Ben Hellenstein the next time to go over this so we get a better understanding of what we're trying to do. I think there's a lot of good things in here. I think it does make a lot of sense, but we want to get some of the answers taken care of so we don't get stuck to a point where, our ratepayers are being hit unfairly with this.
Right.
I think we all want clean energy, but it's something that, there may be a cost to, and I think it's important that we do try to get some more information on this item. Councilor Bartley.
So I guess I'm going to make a motion, two motions in a second, but I'd like to see if the proponents of this are going to go forward purportedly to assist gateway communities, then the irony is just so rich that gateway communities are not specifically excluded. The ratepayers are not specifically excluded. I mean, that's just a rich irony that really should have been thought out before it was presented. So in other words, this is saying, well, the Department of Public Utilities shall increase the charges to electric and gas utility customers under Chapter 25. Well, we're not going to review Chapter 25 of the Mass General Laws right here and right now, but unless that specifically excludes municipal ratepayers, I'm not going to support this, to put another tax on my bill and everybody else's bill so that we can have this laudable goal, which I already said is laudable through the Commonwealth. So, and then you want to help green communities, well, stop taxing the green communities. So there should be a specific exclusion for green communities that have municipal utilities. And so that's something that should have been thought out before it was presented. So that's one. Second off, I'm going to make a motion to refer a copy of this to the state delegation because we need to get their take on it. Right. And I'm going to make a compound motion that we send this also to the manager and the commissioners of the G&E so that they can circle back to us with their take as well. So
I'll second both.
All right, thank you. And then after we vote on that, I'll make another motion.
Okay, all in favor to send this to our delegation, state delegation, and the manager and the G&E commissioners?
Aye.
Aye. And unless there's anybody else, I'll make the motion on table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're going to table this item and try to get the G&E commission and the manager to get some input, and we're going to send those items to them to try to get their thoughts on this Green Act, okay?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks
you
for your time, Ben.
Yeah, it's a laudable, noble goal.
Thank you so
I'll make
much.
a motion to take number 7 off the table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 7 we have here is ordered by Councilor James Leahy and Todd McGee, ordered that a representative of the Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife and the Holyoke Animal Control Department come into the Public Service Committee to discuss a strategic plan in regards to the increasing amount of wildlife in the city of Holyoke. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I believe we have Mr. Dave Waddles here. Dave, thanks for joining us. You're from the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife.
That's correct. I'm the lead black bear and fur bearer biologist with Mass Wildlife.
Thank you so much for coming in, and hopefully have a fruitful discussion on this item. If you can sort of give us a little background on what you see happening in the community, especially now this time of year, with wildlife in different areas, and what the public should be aware of and what should be cautious of, and we'll go from there. We'll ask you some questions.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with the specific issues you guys have been dealing with in terms of the perceived increase in wildlife in Holyoke. But generally speaking, many of our species are highly adaptable to living in even urban areas like Holyoke. Bears now are living on at least the peripheries of those areas. Coyotes are living throughout these areas. Certainly species like skunks, fox, raccoons, also turkeys in these communities. And most of the reason that they can live in these areas is because of the huge amounts of human-associated foods. So while natural habitat is limited, obviously you have large blocks of conservation area immediately on the western side of the city. Internally, natural habitat isn't plentiful, but many of these species are highly adapted to living, taking advantage of the small patches of forest, and then exploiting all the human-associated foods in the area to thrive in those places. So garbage, the bird feeders that are everywhere, compost, all those things provide free meals for wildlife species that draws them into backyards, into neighborhoods, and that's where people tend to have conflict with them as a result. And so certainly that is typically what we see throughout Massachusetts in relation to some of these species.
Thank you. Just something that I talked to my colleagues to earlier. There was last fall, I believe, there was something online about a coyote up on Route 5 in Northampton Street that had looked really sickly, and people were concerned about it, and it was almost like a storyline that people were they wanted to help it. It looked like it was frail, and people have to be aware of that. Anytime any animals with being out in the wildlife, the rabies and any other kind of diseases they could get. What do you say to people that see something, encounter an animal that's sort of sickly, or a fox or a coyote, to contact the wildlife, contact the animal control officer? What should people do with that?
Yeah, so it sounds like that animal likely had mange. Mange is common in our coyote and fox populations throughout Massachusetts. And again, this tends to often go back to the feeding issues, where mange naturally exists in the wild, but it tends to fluctuate with when there's a peak in a population. You tend to have an outbreak of mange, high densities of animals. These diseases can break out, but then the population will decline and mange goes away. With the high levels of food, it supports pretty much constant high levels of these species. And so mange almost never goes away. So it's kind of constantly out there. There's kind of a double-edged sword with mange in terms of how it's spread. Mange is an infestation of mites, and it spreads where individuals of the same species, so two fox, one's infected, one isn't, they interact or are using the same areas intensively, and the mites are spread to that other animal. Often that is occurring at places where people are, unfortunately, intentionally feeding wildlife. It happens throughout Massachusetts. Often people that feel they love wildlife, they're trying to see wildlife or help wildlife, but in reality, they're contributing to the spread and persistence of some of these diseases. Yes, if someone wants to do something, please contact the Division of Fish and Wildlife before doing anything. Many of the attempts to help these animals can actually make the conditions worse and further spread mange in the population. Or people often want to give medication to these animals in the wild. And the medication you use, ivermectin, is actually poisonous to many types of wildlife. It's even poisonous, despite being given commonly to dogs, it's poisonous even to some breeds of dogs. It can also cause additional issues in terms of further habituating those animals. So people, again, trying to help often can cause further problems by trying to do so. So contacting the authorities who know what is permissible and what the restrictions are is definitely a key thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because sometimes if people are always want to help out, but sometimes you're hurting more than helping in this case. It seems like every evening we're seeing on the news bears coming into our backyards, and a lot of it's like feeders and stuff. Is it safe to say that people maybe shouldn't use feeders or put them out or put them so a different spot? Because I mean, and I see it in my neighborhood. Sometimes you'll see a mother bear with 3 bears going through to go to the area of the reservation or the golf course, because they're out there. They're just feeding. They're at that time where they, go into where the food is. Is there something that people should be aware of? And maybe, people want to feed their birds or their squirrels, but, you can cause a lot of problems when you have a big black bear to come in your backyard.
Yeah, and my recommendation would be not to feed the birds. Essentially, those bird feeders are training bears that the best place to find food is in backyards, is on people's decks, are in the neighborhoods. And so those bird feeders represent high concentrations of calories. And quite often people think it's a bad bear that's doing these behaviors. Every single bear in Massachusetts will take advantage of these food sources if they're provided. If that bear is killed, so for example, we had a collared female who was using the western half of Holyoke and down into West Springfield last year, and she was very much in the neighborhoods and things, and she was hit and killed on a road in Holyoke last fall. Another bear is going to be there to replace it. So as long as those food remain, those bears are going to keep coming to backyards and spending time there. And while black bears aren't inherently aggressive towards people, which is why we can tolerate having them in these areas, the more time bears spend immediately adjacent to homes, the greater chances are of a chance negative encounter, where someone's letting their dog out on the deck and the bear's out there. The dog runs after the bear, the person intervenes to try to save their dog, and they get injured. Or they're putting their garbage out in the dark, and the bear happens to be in the garbage at the time. Now the person's immediately next to the bear. That's where potentially dangerous situations can occur. And it all stems back to bears being attracted to our homes due to the food. So many of the issues, whether it's with bears, coyotes, aggressive turkeys, any of these animals stem from all these foods around our homes. So the number one thing we can do if we want to decrease the presence of these animals around our homes and communities is to clean up those food sources. So making sure all the garbage is secure, really getting rid of the bird feeders to the greatest extent possible, securing compost, and trying to clean up our homes, businesses, and communities is going to go a long way to reducing and it's really the main thing that can be done to reduce the presence of these animals around our homes.
I appreciate that, David. Any comments? Anybody on the council? Council Bartley.
Yeah, I just a comment. Mr. Wiles, I just really appreciate the insight. And so Fox, my front yard. I'm not saying I'm in the Holy Land where Mr. Tallman is, but I am saying that I'm in a fairly urban area, and mama fox, baby fox, mama bear or baby bear, I couldn't tell. It was big. But I have a 22.5 acre parcel that is directly quarter mile south of where I reside. And I've got multiple pictures in that phone of deer, mama deer and baby deers, does were running all over the place. I mean, it's 6 or 7 of them all together. I mean, it just, it's amazing. And that very deer that the gentleman referenced, a very bear, it ran across my front yard. It was quite a commotion on a Saturday morning. That's for sure. I'm appreciative very much of the intel. I'm sure there's a website that Mr. Wiles could recommend that we could possibly consider posting to the city's website to say, look, you can't. The comments are made, putting your trash out at night. Let's, I know we're all busy, but you could do it in the morning before you go to work, and or at least make it secure. But I'm sure Ms. Wiles could refer or send us a link to Jeffrey, and Jeffrey could put on the website. If you would consider that, Ms. Wiles, it's just to connect with. I'm sure Jeffrey got you in here tonight, and thanks for your time. Because it's really enlightening, and I'm sure if you sent the link to Jeffrey, we could get it up on the city's website, and maybe it would pay dividends down the road. Who knows? But I know people log onto that website a lot, and people do watch our meetings, believe it or not, because they make comments to me on a regular basis at Stop and Shop. So I would say that this is important information, and the more we can spread that word, the better off we'll all be.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Council.
I'd be happy to share the website. I mean, for bears, it's really easy. It's mass.gov/bears. That will take you to our bear specific page that has lots of bear conflict information and how to resolve conflict. To get to the main Mass Wildlife or Division of Fisheries and Wildlife page, it's mass.gov/Mass Wildlife. And so those are easy, but I can also share links to those to make sure you have those accessible.
Yeah, appreciate that. It's important because, especially this time of year, we're all encountering animals out there. Huh? Oh yeah, we do have the animal control officer. We can bring it. Come on in, Mr. Eric.
Yeah, Eric.
Come on in, Eric.
Sure.
Thanks, Eric. I think you heard the discussion about the wildlife. We have Mr. Waddles here in the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, and glad you can make it in here and give us a little talk on what you feel is important for us to be careful with, and the citizens as far as what we can do and what we should be cautious of when we encounter wildlife in our yards or on our streets.
Sure, absolutely. Hello, I'm Eric. I haven't met this gentleman, but I'm sure he spoke to you about the many educational programs that there are out there to help citizens sort of resolve wildlife conflict within their own area. Besides trying to hire a sort of a wildlife removal expert or whatnot, there are some things that you can do to resolve some of the conflicts that are out there. And I think I would probably say that our main role as animal welfare folks are to educate the public first and foremost, so that if and when they run into a situation, whether it's a fox, a raccoon, a possum, a bear, whatever it is, they know how to handle it for themselves, as opposed to, oh my God, freaking out and just either calling us, calling Mass Fish and Wildlife, calling environmental police, whoever they choose to, animal control, whoever it is, to help sort of solve and or resolve their situation, where I'm sure I'm sorry, what's
Dave Waddles from the
Dave, I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry, he's spoken greatly with about the many links there are out there and programs there are out there to help people kind of find this information for themselves, and that's sometimes just as simple as, hey, by the way, check out this website. I know I heard him speaking about the bears and such. Check out this website, see what their what the recommendations are and such. Also, over the years I've kind of put together an email form, something really simple for folks to follow, and that'll help them sort of resolve their situations individually, because not everyone's wildlife situation is going to be the same. One person could be dealing with skunks while the other person's dealing with a black bear and or whatnot. So we try to give everyone a little bit of everything, so that they know, just in case they happen to encounter something in their immediate property and or in the wild when they're just walking, maybe hiking or something, what to expect, what to maybe do to maybe steering clear of these wildlives is very important, not only for the humans but for the animal involved.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I especially this time of year when people are out and about now, we're walking the reservoirs and you see different wildlife, and of course, the two reservoirs we have, Ashley and the Whiting Reservoir, where people are out springtime, and sometimes there's animals you know,
A lot
some-
of times there are animals,
you know,
whether you see them
bigger
or not,
yeah,
they're
see them or
there.
not, they're up there. And,
Yeah.
you know, I had an encounter, somebody said, keep an eye out because there might be some type of animal up there. So you're
course.
just walking, and what do you do if somebody's, you know, this, whatever it is,
My first
there.
thought is to tell folks, stay
calm?
calm
Yeah.
and just keep your distance. Most animals, and most wildlife in general, I feel, don't necessarily want to come up to people unless they've been sort of trained in a way to like take food from people. Oh my God, like squirrels and other animals that we more commonly consider urban wildlife that are more in and about our neighborhoods. But if you're hiking and you see something, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Just let it be. You're doing your thing. Let the animal do its thing as well.
That's good advice for everybody, I think. And if and you're with the basically work out of the Board of Health, you're with the Animal Control, so you're under the Board of Health.
Under the Board of Health, correct.
Okay. And I'm sure people ask me, and I even think of it too. Sometimes we have an issue where an animal gets hit in the road,
Yes.
and it's in the road. I know usually scavengers or birds take it out, but if there's like something like a cat or a dog or an opossum or a raccoon that's in the middle of the road just splattered, do we contact you? And
Yes, of
you
course.
Contact and go out there and
Right. I'll either take care of it personally, or we have a group that we work with, Bremen Pest Control, that also works in and about the city also, that we contract with. If for whatever reason I happen to be in court or I'm out, whatnot, not available for whatever reason, they are.
Okay. Because I think that's important because people just don't know what to do. I mean, I'm driving and I see something on the road and it just sits there and, you know, you don't realize it. And then 3 days later it's gone. You know, somebody didn't pick it up. They're just the scavengers or the hawks or the birds. That's natural feed for them, you know, roadkill, and it gets out. But sometimes there's something right there in the middle and people keep on running it over. And
Dead in the park.
yeah, or in the park, yeah. So maybe, you know, before, people could look you up on the website, but maybe we can get your number, you know, so people are aware of that. And it's probably in the Board of Health website too, your number, so we can,
And our number is on there.
On there.
The Board of Health
website, yeah,
The Board of Health main line.
Main line.
is the one that they would contact, so that
yeah,
you know some of the clerks can just sort of reach out to me directly.
yeah. And here it is spring. This order was brought up by Councilor Leahy McGee back in October. And I'm glad we're bringing it up now because I think it's a good time to bring this up. But just to make the public aware of, you know, be calm, be cautious with animals, try not to be too friendly with them. If you see an animal, let it do its thing. Feeding, everything, it's, you know, the bird feeders, not to put food out there, watch what you do. It's all good advice because, you know, we see it on TV all the time and we hear stories about people that, you know, go out there, the dog goes out, they run after the dog, dog chases a bear, and a woman almost got killed because she's chasing after the dog and the bear with her cubs is protecting her cubs on top of some stone wall. And you see that right on news every day. What do you do? And I think people should just try to, you know, be aware that, you know, respect the wildlife.
That is one thing I wanted to point out. I'm not sure if the officer has already sort of touched on it. I feel that COVID also had a little bit of play in this whole situation where we normally wouldn't necessarily see wildlife in certain areas of the city because we were isolated, because we were so like hunkered down in our homes and not really coming out. That gave, I feel, certain wildlife, most wildlife, the opportunity to sort of graze and expand their normal living habitats, although they have certain areas that they're comfortable in, most comfortable in. I feel that the isolation and the folks, not too many people out on the road, expanded their sort of comfortability. So to come out more. So when people are now leaving their homes more often, it's not uncommon to see, you know, a coyote kind of running through your yard or, you know, bunnies where you normally wouldn't see them and you know, maybe raccoons, fox, coyotes, skunks, where they normally wouldn't necessarily be, just kind of scavenging for food. But now that people are out in numbers and more often, they spot them. So we get, I think, a bit more calls on, oh my God, what do I do? What do I see? Whatnot. So we have try to keep the public calm and just educate as much as possible so that, again, no one gets hurt.
That's the key, the safety of our community and nobody gets hurt. I really appreciate it. It's been a great discussion. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, David, for coming down and giving us really some good feedback on what to do and what when we encounter animals and how we could protect ourselves and how we can make it so maybe the big black bears aren't coming in our neighborhood and our backyards every couple of weeks. So I really appreciate that for your time.
I'll
Make a motion.
make a motion.
Complied with.
Order's been complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, David, and thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Great discussion. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, David.
Good order by Mr. Leahy. Mr.
Yeah, really would.
I'll make a motion to take number 8 off the table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is an item.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
Nice to meet you.
By Councilor Vacan, order in light of recent news reports on issues with security of mail-in votes, we request the city clerk and board of registers discuss with the city council the vote counting and security process to ensure an accurate count and posting of each vote for our elections and reviewing the results of the September 1st primary. There was a significant variance between the machine totals posted on the walls at the precincts and the totals listed in the unofficial results. Traditionally, the vote totals posted on the precincts were very close to the final results, but at the primary, many votes were not reflected in the total votes posted at the precincts. How are mail-in votes other than absentee ballots initially requested by the voter counted and posted, and how was early voted accounted for, recorded, and results posted? This order has been already taken care of. Councilor Vacan contacted me that this order has already been complied with, so I'll take a motion that the order has been complied with.
Yeah, I'll so moved. Councilor McGivern's got to say that.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I ask
Yes.
how it was complied with?
What's that?
He wants to know.
Can I ask how it was complied with?
How it was?
Well, it raises a lot of questions and concerns, and if there are answers, I think we should hear them.
Yeah, I believe Councilor Vacan contacted me. This was brought up on October 6th of 2020. And it was basically we were going to, I just stated comply with, we were going to give a leave to withdraw, but Councilor Vacan had stated to me that this was already taken care of. So that's the reason I put this on the agenda, and that's the reason that we were going to have it complied with.
But there's no answers.
No, she just stated that it was taken care of. The question
If we
she.
get no answers, then I would suggest we give it leave to withdraw.
Okay, we'll do that. I'll make a motion to give it leave to withdraw.
Yeah, second.
Second. Councilor McGivern made a statement that we're going to put comply with. Councilor Vacan said this was taken care of. This was brought up in 2020. So we were just going to bring this up and make a motion, give it leave to withdraw. She stated that was already taken care of. This is almost 2 years ago.
So complied with?
I tried to, but
We can't do that?
Councilor McGivern stated that maybe it's better to give it leave to withdraw.
I was just kind of just off-camera colloquy with Mr.
Yeah, Councilor, is it because of the questions there? Is that why?
Well, I think Councilor Vacan filed the order for a reason. Maybe constituents had questions that are within the wording of her order.
Right.
And if there are answers that it's complied with, I think our constituents should hear what the answers are.
I hear what you're saying. I was just saying.
Table that, or?
Well, I brought this up it's almost a year and a half ago, so that's why.
Let me ask you this: did the clerk was the clerk invited? I'm sure she was. So
I don't think she was invited. This was going to be just something that I think we were going to give leave to withdraw. It was in the jacket for a year and a half, and Councilor Vacan had stated to me, Councilor Jeffrey, Anderson, administrative assistant. Yes.
Appreciate the promotion there. When I spoke with Councilor Vacan, when we were looking through the orders, she said she believed that the clerk had provided a report as a communication that answered these questions.
Oh, let's comply with. There you go. So it's the clerk.
Councilor McGivern, is that
Can
okay
I
with
get
you?
a copy of that, please?
Jeffrey, could you get a copy to Councilor McGivern and to the committee?
I will look through and see the communications. I'm sure there's something in there.
Well, better yet, why don't you put it on send it to the clerk put it on an agenda for next Tuesday. So that way,
Yeah.
we'll all see it.
Yeah, if you can get that, the answer to that, that we can put it on the agenda. Our communication.
Sure,
you-
I can do that. If it was already sent through as a communication as you're asking, do you want it again or just to send to everybody as a refresher?
I do, because
Yeah.
it's just a refile.
Yeah, refile and
All
like a
right.
refresher. I think that would be good.
Sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion to comply with.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we won't debate it. Motion, committee is adjourned.
Good job, Pete.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilor McGivern's hands up. I'm
Oh,
just kidding.
Council.